All right, we have a new sampler. It's the Tonverk. Elektron just announced it a few days ago. I decided to chime in as well, tell you my thoughts about this new sampler. I'm a big fan of samplers. I love to try all sorts of workflows. I know Elektron a little bit. I've worked with the rhythm. I've worked with the octatrack. I never tried the Digitakt. The Digitakt seems to have slices, something that the Tonverk doesn't have. And there might be a reason for that, for not having slicing inside of the Tonverk because of the Digitakt. Otherwise, people might not get the Digitakt. The Polyphony, I think that's the big thing about this sampler, is that it's a sampler from Elektron that actually has more than 8 voice polyphony inside of the sampler. So you get these subtracks, which is one of the machines of the Tonverk. And once you open it up, you get, if I'm not mistaken, 8 voices. So subtracks adds 8 monophonic multi-timbral. So the track overall is polyphonic. It has 8 voices, and you can play up to 8 voices inside of this track, which has subtracks inside it. I feel like that's how it works. So that allows you to do a lot with this machine when it comes to sampling. Now there's, of course, the lack of slicing inside of this machine, which I feel like, it might come in the future, it might not, because again, they might, take some of these sales away from the Digitakt if they introduce stuff like slicing and chopping. This machine is definitely geared towards sitting next to your other synths in the room. You can actually sample your synths into this machine and then play these sounds of your synths in a way that you never or could never do before. At this point, it feels to me that it's not really the best when it comes to sampling and making beats with. It's just not meant for that. Just like the octatrack is also not meant for beat making, but people still use it for beat making. You can definitely use the Tonverk for beat making, sampling. Other samplers are really not meant for beat making, but people still use them for beat making. I feel like the best place for this is next to your synths, so you can sample your synths and play them like you never could before. But you can still make beats with this, of course. It doesn't seem that you can sample to a subtrack directly, but you can load samples into the subtrack, so you can, just sample something from a record inside of the Tonverk and then just go into these subtracks, bring up the sample, do your slicing in there or just the start and end points in there, and do the same for the other subtracks as well. You can still make beats on this thing, of course. There's workarounds to not having the slice feature in there. Would I buy this over a Digitakt? I'm not sure. I would have to get a bit deeper into it, but I think I would prefer this than the Digitakt. Although you don't get slicing in there, it might come in the future. Because if you look at the machine, it just feels like it's a bit unfinished and it was a bit rushed out. There's a lot of stuff in the menus, little boxes that just have nothing in there. So, most likely it will have a lot more in this sampler in the future. Stuff like maybe or potentially slicing. Me being an MPC user and looking at this machine at the same time, it feels like a machine for key groups, right? Because if you're coming from the MPC, this thing of sampling your synths via MIDI, an automatic sampler to create a key group, that what we call in the MPC. We've had this feature for a long time on the MPC, but this is Elektron, and with the Elektron sequencer, this thing, takes it to a whole different world by just adjusting effects. And there's a lot of possibilities to route signals in there. Like if I was going to do key groups, would I prefer this or the MPC? Of course I would prefer the Elektron because it's just way more adventurous. There's a lot of fun to be had with the Elektron products. To me that's the thing, is there's the sequencer that it's not just that it now has polyphony, but it's that polyphony with the sequencer built into it and all the routing possibilities. I feel like they're rushing it. It's just putting it outside a machine that isn't quite finished. So me personally, I'll just wait a year to see what comes out, what updates come out and what the machine is actually capable of. Because as of now, it just seems a bit unfinished. But hey, it's still very promising, and I could still make beats on it. Another thing that I feel is really nice is that connection between the keyboard in there with the step sequencer. It seems like it's so fun and so easy to put in notes and try chords. That brings me to my final topic, which is price. Is it really worth how much does it cost? Let me have a look. 1,400. Yeah, 1,400 euros, around that, which I think is like $1,600. So I don't know. I think it's pushing it a bit too much. But with the tariffs and all this stuff happening in the world right now, they have to make their money. But it's a very expensive box for just polyphony and an auto sampler at the end of the day. Doesn't it feel like that? It feels a bit expensive for what it is. I don't know, But there's a lot of people that love Elektron products and will buy this no matter what. I just feel like it's a bit too expensive for what it is, with no analog stuff in there. But hey, it's a great machine, and from what I've seen in the videos, people using it as a performance tool, and just because you can do like that thing of you going nuts with the knobs and then just releasing it back to its original state of the song. I love that stuff. I think the Digitakt has that, the Digitone. I don't know. Most of Elektron products have that, I think. And for live performance, this is great too. I think it's a great machine. And plus, with the updates, I think this is going to turn into a really great product. As of now, just by looking at it and me being an MPC user and what is it, like Polyphony and auto sampler, I got those things. So what it sums down for me, it's all about that step sequencer, and am I willing to pay $400 for that step sequencer? I'm not sure. I don't think so. So that's it. I think just the price is a bit too much for the machine. But again, let's see for what the updates bring. It's great to see a new sampler in the market. So yeah, the Digitakt is 1,000. So the Tonverk is 500 euros more. And but it has it's I don't know, like Digitakt is 16 stereo tracks. But they're monophonic, right? If I'm not mistaken, these are 16 tracks, but they're monophonic. Like you can't play the same track twice, right? You can do a lot more with the Tonverk, it seems, if you have, you have 8 audio tracks, and if you make them all sub tracks, then you have a bunch of polyphony in there. I don't know what the maximum amount of polyphony is. I'll see that in a second. But if you can play all the 8 tracks being sub tracks, then the amount of polyphony is way higher than 16 tracks from the Digitakt. I'll say this: if I was to buy a sampler from the Elektron line to make beats, I'll probably go for the Tonverk. More polyphony, more routing possibilities, more fun to be had, and maybe updates in the future for slicing samples. Maybe not, because they might want to keep away from the sales of the Digitakt. 4 gigabytes of sampling memory on the Tonverk, that's huge, all right? There's enough room for as many samples as you want. I love that. So that and polyphony, I would definitely jump on the Tonverk to make beats. Easy audio sampling with, like easy audio sampling. You know what that means? There's not many functions in there for you to take advantage of. Seems from ChatGPT is saying it's 64 voices. It's a big difference from the 16 of the Digitakt. I mean, this could kill the Digitakt in a way. If I was to buy a sampler right now from Elektron, I would definitely jump on the Tonverk. or Tonverk or whatever. That was my take on the Tonverk. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Comment below what you think. Is it a Digitakt killer? Is it not? Is it a different thing? I think it is a different thing, but at the same time, can it take away the sales from the Digitakt? I think it can. Let me know what your thoughts are, all right? Thank you so much for watching the video. Have a great day. Peace. Bye-bye.